Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Read and Reread. I am Angelia, and today I'm doing a tag. It is the 100th anniversary Great Gatsby tag. I don't know if that's the exact correct words, the Great Gatsby 100th tag. And this tag was created by Sherri at Books and Radio Plays, Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads, and Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics. And I was tagged by Pat from Book Chat with Pat. Pat knows that The Great Gatsby is one of my favorite novels, so of course she tagged me, as she frequently does, but specifically for this one. So thank you, Pat, and thank you, Sherri, Alan, and Greg for creating this really fun tag. And I will put links to all of their channels in the notes so you can go check out their renditions. In April of 1925, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald was published, and now it is its 100th anniversary, a book that is still giving me and many other readers around the world great joy when we reread this book. And I am going to reread this very soon. I have not one but two beautiful new copies to choose from. I used this one today because it has this fantastic photo of Scott Fitzgerald. The questions in this tag all pertain to various aspects of The Great Gatsby, but kind of give you an avenue to recommend some other books. So I think most of the things I'm going to talk about in response to these prompts, I'm pretty sure, I'm 100% sure I've talked about these before, but it's always really fun to look at books from a different angle when you see different questions and prompts in a tag. So if you may have heard me talk about them before, but if you still haven't read these books, it's another reminder and another recommendation for a good book. The first prompt is, do you like parties? Name a book with a big or small party in it. I think my heyday of enjoying parties came and went a long time ago, like back in college. But if I had a chance, I'd have to have a double kind of a time machine and a fiction transport machine, so I could actually go to one of Jay Gatsby's parties. I would rally and put on my flapper finery and go to this party just so I could wander around in his house and out by the pool, and I'd go in his bedroom so I could check out those beautiful shirts. But the question asks about a book with a party in it. My answer, this is my visual aid to help with the answer. The entire Riverside Shakespeare. My answer is Romeo and Juliet, because after a street fight between the Montagues and the Capulets, Romeo Montague and a couple of his friends wear disguises and they crash a party given by the Capulets, and that is when he meets Juliet. He goes there because he's thinking about a different girl altogether, but instead he meets Juliet, and of course the rest is history. So that was the party that came to mind. I have a runner-up. This is an honorable mention because this isn't a party. This is party planning. It came to my mind. And here's another visual aid. This Jane Austen collected volume. But I'm thinking about Emma. And if you have read that book, you might remember there's a part where they're trying to plan a dance, a party, one of those get-together things that are in Jane Austen books. Country dance kind of situation, and they're trying to figure out if they can have it at this one particular character's house, and it's just not working out because the size of the room where they could have the party is not sufficient for the number of guests. And they're thinking about those dances, the way they have a whole line of people, and then they have this idea that, well, maybe they could dance straight across the hall and into this room that's right on the other side and come back and forth. And then they realize that totally isn't going to work. We're going to get stuck in the middle. It's just not doable. And then they think of a venue, or they discover a venue in town, an abandoned venue that they can renovate, and they can have the party there. And then there's a really great scene where they go, and there's these differences between the men and the women in the group about the viability of this venue and the amount of work that they'd have to put into it to make it suitable for their dance. And I just love the whole thing. So that's my runner-up answer. My official answer, Romeo and Juliet. Number 2, what would you do to get the love of your life back? Name a book where a lost love is the center of the story. Not a romance, that is too easy. So, of course, The Great Gatsby largely centers around Jay Gatsby's attempts or desires to win back Daisy Buchanan, who is married to Tom, who he hoped to marry once upon a time when he was poor and inconsequential. And now that he is wealthy, he thinks he might have a second chance to get Daisy back. And if you've never read the story, I'm not going to tell you how that goes. The first book I thought of, I have disqualified because I guess it is a romance, which would be Persuasion. So instead, I thought of a couple other ones. First of all, I have Things in Jars by Jess Kidd. And this is a book set in Victorian London, and it is a mystery about, there's a detective named Bridie who is she smokes pipes or cigars or something. She's very unconventional. I think she has a fake dead husband so that she's not pestered all the time, and she solves crimes. So she's solving crimes, but she has a couple of unusual assistants, and one of them is a ghost named Ruby Doyle, who's a ghost of a boxer and sailor, this guy who's kind of partially dressed and covered in tattoos, who appears to her suddenly in a cemetery, and he knows who she is. They knew each other in life, but she can't place him, she can't remember, and he won't tell her. He makes her wait and figure it out, but he is lovelorn for Bridie. And as the story progresses, he assists her and they become better and better friends. But there is a very obvious impassable divide because one is living and one is dead. And it is, they're just both really great characters. And I highly recommend this book if you've never read Things in Jars. And then my other answer for that, oops, my prompts blacked out. Let me see if I can get them back up. Is James by Percival Everett. I haven't ever recommended this book before. Throughout the entire story, Jim, who later claims his full given name, James, all of the adventures and misadventures and all of the hardships, at the center of it all, he wants to get back to his wife, Sadie, and his daughter. Oops, what's the daughter's name? Lizzie. He initially runs away because he hears that he is going to be sold and he doesn't want to be sent far away and separated from his family. But the problem is, in the running away, he has separated himself from his family. He's got to figure out how to get back and rescue his family and also get them to freedom. So he's always thinking and hoping and working his way back to Sadie. Number 3. Nick, the narrator, was both a character in the story and the narrator. He really put you into the picture. Who is your favorite narrator? What do you think I'm going to say? It's Holden Caulfield from The Catcher in the Rye. He is my favorite narrator. I have many favorite narrators, but he is my favoriteest of all the favorite narrators. And think what you like about Holden, but I am Team Holden till the day I die, my favorite narrator by a long shot. Number 4, what is some advice given to you in your younger and more vulnerable years that you have been turning over in your mind ever since? Now, if you've never read The Great Gatsby, that is straight out of the opening line of the novel. That's a very clever prompt. Here is the opening line of The Great Gatsby. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had. So read on if you want to consider that advice in light of what happens in the story. And but for me, I thought about a couple of pieces of bookish advice that my mother gave me when I was young. My mother also passed to me my great love of reading, which was passed to her from her mother. And one thing she told me when I was probably in high school was, if you hear about a book being banned or challenged or censored, be sure to get a copy and read it, because that's probably a good one. That's where the good stuff is. So that was a good piece of advice. And She also, this came up in a comment that I made in a video the other day. This preceded the idea of having a TBR, and I think this was Debs was talking about the size of her TBR and why she's really not that bothered about it. And in a comment, I said, well, my mom called it having books in the bank. And she said that that really gave her this feeling of comfort and satisfaction and calmness when she knew she had not just the next book she was going to read, but a stack of possibilities. She had to have books in the bank, a number of books. It could be library books or it could be books that she owns and she's going to read or reread them. But she said you always need to have some books in the bank, and that's when all is right. If you don't have it, you're going to have a feeling of ennui. So yeah, she advised me to always have books in the bank, and we liked to talk about the books we had on deck that we were hoping to read. Number 5, Tom Buchanan is not a good man, but it is done in a very subtle manner. Name a book that the character is not obviously bad, but as you get to know him, he is very, very bad. Okay, my take is that it's not subtle with Tom, that he stands out to me from the get-go as being a very problematic person, right? I think in the very first scene when Nick goes to visit Daisy and Tom, Daisy is his cousin and he hasn't seen them in a few years. He hasn't seen them since they had their daughter. And Tom is recommending this book about white supremacy to Nick, and Daisy's making sarcastic remarks about it. And so to me, it's Tom is not that subtle. Maybe on the first reading, maybe it's because I read it so many times. But to me, the subtle's not the word that I'd put with Tom. Now, there are some people, other people in the story that are problematic, and it's more subtle and it's more gradual in the reveal. So read on and see if you agree with that or what you think about the other characters in the book. So in answer to the prompt, though, a character who is not obviously bad from the start, but as you go along, it becomes more and more clear. So because this character is so very young, I don't want to just say, oh, he's just bad. But as you read the book, you realize more and more that he's very troubled and very dangerous. And the person I'm thinking about is Duchess from the Lincoln Highway by Amor Towles. This was a book that I loved. It defies my big book trepidation. I know it. I'm looking at it and it's big and chunky and long. I don't remember having that feeling when I read it. And I do want to reread it. And you know what's funny? The same problem I have committing to a long book the first time, I have it all over again the second time. Knowing that it's great and I love it and I want to read it again, I still take years and years to work up to it. But there's a character named Duchess. He's a teenage boy. So in this book, there is a kid named Emmett who has, at the beginning of the story, it's the 1950s, and he's just been released from this juvenile detention facility. He's 18 now, so he's been released, but he's been there for a couple of years because he accidentally killed somebody. The circumstances of that, we eventually find out, but he's going back home. He needs to take care of his younger brother. His father has died, and his younger brother wants to go in search of his mom, who took off, I think, a number of years ago. And at any rate, if they never find her, they still need to start a new life somewhere else. But when he's driven back, and after they get there, they find out that there were a couple of stowaways in that car from the juvenile facility, and a couple of his friends from that place have shown up as well. And they turn all the plans topsy-turvy, and it turns into a different kind of story altogether, and they end up in New York City, and a whole bunch of stuff happens. The characters, the two friends, are just fascinating in different ways. One of them is just a heartbreakingly, you'll just fall in love with this person. And the little brother, what's the little brother's name? Billy. Love those characters. But Duchess is problematic. Duchess, we find, he's sort of the mastermind of this new plan, and he's tricky. And along the way, it's frequently suggested by different characters, you just need to give Duchess a chance. He's had a really hard life. he's got a good side, and we do see that. We do see instances of that, but he's dangerous. The menace kind of increases. We find out. I don't want to say too much, but that's my character. That at first you just think, oh my gosh, this kid is a hot mess. He's trouble, and as it goes along, you think, oh, wait, this could get really serious. But he's so well written that you still really hope that things are going to work out. Do they work out? I cannot tell you. You'll have to read the book. All right, and that's actually the end of the prompts. The last one is to tag some people, and this tag has been making the rounds, and Pat tagged a lot of people, and I've seen it. I've seen several renditions with long tag lists too. So, as is my custom, I'm coming in late, and it's maybe not hot. I'm coming in late and lukewarm. And so if you haven't done it yet and you love The Great Gatsby, or you just think these prompts are interesting, because you don't have to have read The Great Gatsby to do these prompts, consider yourself tagged. If you don't have a channel and you want to answer some of them, put it in the comments and let me know how you feel about The Great Gatsby. And until later, until my next video, I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.